Why are you looking at me like
I
that?
was just waiting for you to say hello.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is.
Yeah. What's new? What's exciting? Oh, am I kicking us off?
I mean, your name is right here. It says welcome Tex.
Okay, got it.
We switch off. Remember?
Welcome, Tex. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
What's going on? How was your weekend?
It was good. Worked. St. Patrick's Day weekend.
It was busy.
Got my ass kicked.
We did.
I was at Roots, so we sold a lot of pizza, which is funny that our guest today does pizza.
Yeah. Enough about you and your life. No one wants to hear about you anymore. So today we have a special guest, the professor of pizza himself, Tony. Welcome.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. What's going on? How was your weekend?
It was good. Also busy.
Yeah.
We also sold quite a lot of pizza.
Yeah.
Friday was the busiest day we've had in the restaurant since last summer.
Yeah.
So it was exciting to see a full dining room, and not just a full dining room, but turns, rather consistently too. It's when any restaurant's at its best. So
True.
It's fun.
When people are drinking, not remembering they spent a lot of money.
Totally.
At its best.
Yeah.
All right.
And honestly, people weren't crazy rowdy.
That's good.
So
they were tame Chicago.
It was a fairly tame year. Yeah, you're right.
I wasn't sure if it was just us because it's like we're not like it's a pizzeria. It's not like an Irish bar or anything. Sure. But no, it was good.
Yeah. We didn't have to use all the vomit kits that we purchased.
Yeah.
That's exciting. That's always a good weekend.
Hey,
maybe upstairs at Utopia.
Maybe.
I didn't have to use one.
So there you go. That's good. That's good.
I stayed clear of there.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna just kind of jump into it.
Yeah. I mean, we just kind of want to tell anybody who doesn't really know you or anything like that. We just want to, give them a little intro about yourself, how you got started with pizza, how you got started with restaurants. Were you, as a kid, were you in restaurants? How did you get involved in pizza? Why pizza?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the why pizza, maybe I'll answer a little bit backwards, but why pizza, I grew up in a Italian-American household where food was super central to, our upbringing and the hospitality throughout the household, right? We had a lot of get-togethers growing up that just were always anchored around so much food being present and like good Italian-American food. And at a certain point you take it for granted, and then you start to go to other households and other gatherings and you realize like, this is fine too, but this is a far departure from like what I grew up with and what I imagine you guys grew up with as well.
Yeah.
And so that always had a impact on me. And at this point in my life, my father had already gotten out of the restaurant business, but he grew up in it himself. He'll always tell you, starting out at a quarter an hour washing dishes in his parents' restaurant at 7 years old. So he did that for a long time and catering, and eventually got into real estate. But I still had an uncle, Greek uncle, who had a hot dog and gyro stand.
Leave it to the Greeks, always.
Right.
See that?
And it was called Mandino's, which was Mantis and Scardino together. And it was the Greek recipes, Greek American recipes that he had brought from like the East Coast growing up with his father, who's actually like up as one of the pictures in the restaurant. I got a lot of family photos in the restaurant. Never met him, but kind of always, heard about him growing up as well. So shaving gyros and making Italian beefs and proper hot dogs.
Were they shaving it by hand with like a knife?
Oh yeah. And it's always with the bread knife that starts out regular and has that bow to it, and it's almost like a sword by the time you're done with it. So I got pretty good at that at the end, but it's an art for sure.
So how did you get into like pizza? I mean, it's not that it's a
that was we got a little sidetracked there, but
we're talking about Greeks. So
then the episode derailed.
So food was always kind of central. Thought I was going to get into music business. Went to school at Columbia here in Chicago for a little bit. Didn't end up graduating through there, but worked at a variety of different restaurants over the years, and all different kinds, from places like Table Donkey and Stick and Public and Quality Meats to Italy and Formentos, um, and just always had this desire to come back to this idea of opening up a pizzeria of my own. And it would start with me making pizza at home for family and friends, just like terrible same day dough recipes, right? That I was finding online through outlets like Serious Eat, Stop Pizza, and things like that. But just trying my hand at it and slowly but surely getting better over time. When I was serious enough about it to know that that was going to be my path forward in life, I eventually was able to convince my father to support me in going out to San Francisco and studying under a 13-time world pizza champion by the name of Tony Geminiani, who remains a dear friend and mentor of mine to this day. And excited to be with him in about a week's time in Vegas at Pizza Expo. But those are some of my kind of early pizza roots. But worked in a variety of different pizzerias over the years, and the last one would have been Dough Bros near the end of, or near the very beginning of the pandemic. Um, and then eventually I started doing pop ups and branched out on my own.
Nice. So when you decided that you were going to be doing, like, pizza was going to be moving forward, did you always have this mindset that, because you offer quite a variety of doughs,
Uh-huh.
was that always the plan? Like, I want to offer a New York, a Detroit, a Sicilian, a tavern.
Wasn't always the plan, no.
Okay.
When I went out to San Francisco, I was like dead set on like actually, believe it or not, like a crazy simple model where like maybe I could make most of the pizzas myself and sell out at a certain number every day, and just have this romantic thing that I'm sure like we all go through, like
The 13-seat restaurant that you know everybody, you cook all the
yeah,
food.
yeah, and like I don't know, had I had the money at any point to do that, I probably would have given it a shot. Maybe it would have worked, maybe it wouldn't have worked,
Right.
right? But all that to say, like that one style I wanted to focus in on, because I wasn't going to do all of those different styles by myself,
Right.
was Sicilian style. And then I got out there, and the nature of the course was that he wasn't just going to show you one style of pizza, he was going to show you kind of like a canon of different American styles of pizza. So, New York, St. Louis, Chicago deep dish, Chicago cracker thin, Chicago stuffed, like Sicilian, Detroit. Those were all things that he went over. Grandma, and as soon as I even tried grandma, I was like, oh man, I think I like this better than Sicilian. But I still really like Sicilian, and then it's another day of class and he's showing us cracker thin and deep dish, and I'm like, oh wow, like, and I went home and just like picked one. I tried to get like really good at like either Sicilian or grandma, and to this day, like we use one dough for our grandma's Sicilian and Detroit. So I was kind of playing with pizzas in that realm. Um, and just trying to get good at it. And from there, adding on other styles. I think I started on Cracker the next, and eventually started working at Dough Bros downtown, which was more of an opportunity for me to work at a classic by the slice New York style pizzeria, albeit here in Chicago. Um, but gave me another lens of opening up 20-inch pizzas and doing slice service up into the wee hours of the night. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and you've done a couple of these, but you haven't really ventured, I guess, too deep into it. Why not go super hard on deep dish? You've done a couple of them and they've been successful.
Well, we currently do it out of our West Loop location, which we're at the tail end of having that location. Just I don't know when this comes out, but we'll be closing that location at the end of this month, and you know, be- uh, resting on the goodwill of the uh, permit gods here in Chicago, will open shortly after in West Town.
Those are always rough.
At Grant, yeah, it's like a Damocles to my day every day, like knowing that like that's actually what decides when we open.
Yeah.
You know, it's not when the oven gets delivered
Yeah.
or anything else like that. That's actually practical.
Right.
It's when they say, okay, go for it.
And you will be offering deep dish at the new spot.
Yeah, we'll offer all 7 styles. So I tell people right now we do 7 styles between 2 locations, with either of them doing 5 styles at once, because Old Town does Sicilian right now. West Loop does not.
Okay.
West Loop does deep dish and cast iron, kind of like a la Pequods or Burt's, right? You Old Town does not, right? And then we do a variety of gluten free on top of that at Old Town that we really don't do at West Loop. So,
but the new location, which we'll talk about at the end, is going
new
to
location
offer
trying to do everything.
all 7.
But the focus of the new location is slices,
Okay.
and we will not offer slices of 7 different styles of pizza.
Sure.
We'll offer slices initially of 3 different styles. The 3 that you would typically see slices of on the East Coast, which would be New York, Grandma, and Sicilian. And hopefully grow it from there. But like, I'd be happy for those to also be the only 3 styles that ever end up in the slice case, and just offer a lot of different varieties of those 3 styles. Because I think those 3 styles, I'll say it again, are the ones that are most ideal for a reheat scenario.
Right.
And really shine in that respect. So
cool.
Yeah.
I guess this is a loaded question, and it's so you have obviously there are different components to a pizza: the dough, the sauce, the cheese, the toppings.
What's most important?
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're all important, and obviously you do a very good job of finding the quality in the ingredients.
Appreciate that.
But I guess my question is, if someone is at home, what's the most important to you?
I mean, I think the skill is in everything, but the foundation is in the dough. I think as a baker, you'd probably agree with that. You're always fine-tuning your dough. You're always fine-tuning your bake. You're always fine-tuning your environment and your circumstances, and trying to get the best product. And it's the one thing that is the I think most important reflection of the pizza maker, pizzaiolo, is their dough. I think everything else, to a certain degree, is purchased. And if you're doing this long enough within a particular region, and you want to buy the good stuff, it's like the good stuff is always going to be Stanislaus. It's always going to be Grande. There's some different proprietors in there on a smaller scale, doing more boutique-y things that also deserve to be a part of the conversation. But those are the brands people buy. Now with flour and dough, I think there's way more brands that people are loyal to. I think for a while, and this is still true, regionally you'll see different bags of flour and different producers. Like New York was big on All Trumps for a while, or King Arthur. I think they're starting to deviate and get into more brands and bags at this point, but that was a big thing out there for a long time. And out here, Sarasota is still a big thing, and we use that in our Chicago Cracker Thin, as well as in the other location in our cast iron and deep dish. And we think that tells a very Chicago story in terms of pizza. But yeah, for sure the dough.
Nice. I guess.
Do you appreciate that?
I do, because I'm a King Arthur guy.
Yeah.
King Arthur's great.
Yeah, I've used it since the beginning. It's just I know the consistency, and in a previous episode,
you know the King personally,
not the King, but we were talking about it in another episode that once you stick with the brand, I'm sure you're familiar.
Well, they're very loyal to the people that stick to them as well.
Correct. But you just get a feel for you can tell when they've harvested a new crop.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming very similar that when you get different seasons of flour, you can immediately start to tell because you've worked with it for so long.
Whatever that platinum one is, I don't know if it's platinum or I don't know. They make one that's particularly if I wasn't going to use what I use right now.
Yeah.
It's great.
And
But
also the names are cool because obviously King Arthur, so they named it like Sir
Galahad.
Lancelot, Sir
Yeah.
Galahad.
Mhm.
I think it used to be the pastry flower was like Queen Guinevere, and so like
Oh wow,
yeah,
that's
so
cool.
they went down that rabbit hole rather hard.
That's funny.
But yeah, so okay, so you're saying the dough in your opinion, the dough is probably the most crucial.
The other stuff's important, but like there's my dough recipe has to change at least slightly with
Sure.
the season, at
Sure.
least temperature of water
Right.
and things of that nature, right? How much ice we're going to add. Whereas the sauce recipe is always the same.
Yeah.
Uh, it's always a 1 ounce slice of mozzarella that I'm putting on my pizzas, or the exact same of bag of vacuum purged mozzarella,
Right.
shredded to the exact same thickness. So the art, the science, the mystery, the finesse, the romance of it all is really in the dough.
Sure. Yeah. I would agree.
People always tell me like, "Oh, this is an incredible sauce," and I do think we make a really good sauce, and I do think we take the time to like do something that's a little bit more robust, both in texture and in flavor and in complexity. Like some people have the um, philosophy that it should be a very simply seasoned tomato, maybe a little basil, maybe a little olive oil, maybe a little sea salt, and that's about it. I take it a lot further, and that's just me.
Yeah.
And when I do Neapolitan pizzas, I go a lot simpler with it, right? But there's only so much expression, in my opinion, you can do with the
Sure,
cheese and the
sure.
sauce and the toppings.
Yeah.
But I think, when it all comes together and you have a perfect economy of ingredients, that matters too. Like, people, my number one selling pizza, I always say like my Freebird, or, the song everybody always wants me to play is always going to be that grandma style deluxe pepperoni
Yeah.
with the whipped ricotta and the Mike's honey. And I appreciate that. And it's like a winning combo. But I always tell people I'm not the first to that combo,
Right.
right? And not necessarily the best to it either, but we have our own interpretation of it. And I think one thing that maybe sets ours apart from the rest a little bit is the economy of ingredients. I see people put on gargantuan amounts of ricotta,
Mhm.
lower quality ricotta than we buy. And I'll even get on the guys in the kitchen sometimes, like more is not necessarily always better,
Right.
right? And ricotta is a perfect example of that, where like the right amount is like pretty fantastic, whereas too much can almost border on kind of gross, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So economy of ingredients matters. I think having an attention to detail where you're reserving a lot of the ingredients for post bake so that they maintain their freshness, their texture, the vibrancy, if it's like an herb or something
Right.
like that, or a lettuce like an arugula. That matters, and I think that's something that we've taken that extra time over the course of the past 11 months with this location alone to really hone in on.
Nice.
I'm proud of where we are with
Yeah.
that too.
I mean, if you haven't been, and not just because you're part of the group, but it is very good pizza in the city. So
It's gotten to that point. It's
yeah.
gotten
Yeah.
to that point.
I want to do a couple of myth busters on sauce, though, real
Sure.
quick. Sugar in your tomato sauce? Yes or no?
I think it's dependent on the tomatoes you're buying, right?
Okay.
Like if you're buying the high quality tomatoes, part of what you're looking for in a high quality tomato is something you'd expect from high quality fruit, sweetness.
Yeah.
High sugar content that's like naturally occurring, right? When you don't have that, as a chef, you season. And in the case of lower quality tomatoes, you season with sugar. We're lucky in that. But lucky, like I'll say we're lucky in that we buy the good cheese
Right.
because you guys know what we pay for the good cheese.
Mhm.
I don't because I'm an artist, but but
Nice.
that's the issue here. We'll get into that, I'm sure, at some point too.
It's
I
all
wasn't
good.
sure if this was an interview or an intervention, but
What about? I've seen.
no, but tomatoes. It's. I don't care where the economy is. You can always afford to buy the best tomatoes.
Yeah.
The best canned tomatoes,
Right.
anyways.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the best heirloom like
Fresh,
farmers
yeah.
market
Yeah.
tomato. But you can always afford to buy the best canned tomato. And so we do that. We buy
Yeah.
the best canned tomato. And for that reason, we season it with things like Calabrian chili and, dry oregano and sea salt and things of that nature. but we don't have to add sugar.
What about I've seen too baking soda to counteract the acidity of the tomato.
That's a level of alchemy beyond me. But
He's an artist,
again,
okay?
Yes,
He's
yes.
an
no,
artist.
You didn't get that science chemistry
think-
kid in Christmas, huh?
I just think again, like you open up a can of really high quality tomatoes,
Right. You shouldn't have to do much to it.
Right, and that's why I do appreciate a Neapolitan sauce where it's a quick baked pizza. It makes sense to have a lighter sauce that you're going to put so little of it on there that it's flash baking and flash reducing
Right.
in the course of 90 seconds under almost 1,000 degrees of heat, right? So, like, even in that sauce where I'm only adding sea salt to it because they're already packing it with basil, it's ready to go because it's a high quality tomato.
Right.
You're buying a lower quality tomato, do what you got to do to it, you
Yeah.
know, I guess.
And then I think the ultimate decision factor here, and you're hearing it here first on Chef Matt Call podcast. You're gonna tell us pineapple on a pizza, yes or no?
So you know we do it.
I know, but for you,
No, I like it. I
Okay.
only have pizzas on.
but you have it curated where it's like pineapple. It's like a curated pizza. But
It's a curated pizza, although we do offer build your own.
sure, but I'm saying for you, if it's not curated, and I'm just gonna do Canadian bacon and pineapple.
Well, I think that's a classic combo though, like the Hawaiian pie.
Sure.
You know, for me, I understand pineapple with red sauce, which I think is like the thing people have the most issue with,
Mhm.
maybe. And I think it can be done well. I think that's like if we've had it 95% of the time, we've had it in that scenario,
Mhm.
right? If not that, maybe it's like a pineapple on a barbecue chicken, and
Yeah.
it's like a barbecue sauce sort of thing. Usually, the issue is that it's like sweet on sweet on sweet.
Yeah.
We've tried to counteract that a little on the pizza that we offer it on, but like also the fun in the humble pie is that it's like breaking all the rules
Sure.
at once and doing all the like slutty pizza things at once. So it has
Nice.
the vodka sauce.
You heard it here
on
first. You heard that first.
It
Everybody.
has the
Slutty
pineapple.
pizza stuff.
It has the ranch, right? Has the pickled jalapenos.
Sure.
Has all the things that you would think of out of like a let's break all the rules or
Right.
do something like kind of stonery
Yeah.
in mind, right? And I think it works, but again it goes back to that theory of economy of ingredients,
Right.
and post bake ingredients. The other cardinal sin with the pineapple is usually people are taking canned pineapple right out of, we'll call it like the sugary brine or syrup, and throwing it right on the pizza, which is it's just creating a lot of liquid on the pizza,
Mhm.
which is going to impact the bake, right? So we're offering it post bake. It's diced up. It's already charred pretty heavily on the outside, but we char it in larger chunks and then cut it down from there.
Right.
So it's got that kind of
So you're not throwing the can of
the
dope.
juicy interior too.
Yeah.
You're
But
not
it's
throwing
not
the
the can of
tidbits.
dull. Yeah, there's no tidbits, right? So it's all about intention.
Yeah.
There's a right way to do it.
You're not using the canned pineapple at all, right? You're using
No,
fresh,
we
and then
buy-
you're charring it.
We
Yeah.
buy pineapples and
Yeah.
we cut them down to larger segments and
Yeah.
throw them on a sheet tray dry, and let the outside blacken and take them out and chop them up.
All right. So we're venturing out of the pizza world because you are also big into comedy. So I want to touch base on that. Tell us a little bit about.
Well, I mean,
like,
we're still going to talk about the pizza.
we are. Yeah. No.
I mean,
Yeah.
The
But,
pizza's kind of
kinda-
the whole point of today.
Yeah. But you gotta.
Even when
Navigate
we're
a
not talking
path.
about pizza, we're talking about pizza.
Yeah,
Some
exactly. So-
context is always pizza.
Yeah.
Pizza's always on the mind.
There you go. So how did you get kind of into the comedy scene? And you've made pizzas for some famous people now, and I think also probably some DJ. Like you're in that scene, and so how did that's always been a passion for you?
It's not anything that was like purposeful. It's just something that I kind of did once, and then this spark kind of went off in my mind that these people are far more approachable, or not necessarily approachable, but accessible than I once thought.
Right.
I think people have this idea of celebrity that like you really only see them on TV, or if you go see them in concert or something like that, it's like there they are on the stage.
Right.
But you can get to them if you know how to do it and within reason. I can't necessarily get to like a Kardashian.
He's tried, everybody.
Yeah. But some of these things like surprised me, right? It started. It started with like a basic love of comedy and not even like an emphasis on like bringing pizzas to comics or celebrity comics or anything like that. Um, I had a friend, still have a friend, who was more active at the time in the Chicago comedy scene, and by nature of going out and seeing her perform and produce and volunteer on other people's shows, I started going to shows here locally in Chicago. And for those that don't know, we still have a super vibrant
Mhm.
local Chicago comedy scene. And you don't have to be famous to be funny. Some of the funniest comics, I'm aware of are people local to the scene here in Chicago. Uh, and those are the folks that I started bringing pizzas to. Shout out Dale McPeak and Joe McMahon, who's since moved to New York. They used to have a show at the former At North bar called Not Your Father's Comedy Show. And this was the first comedy show that I ever brought pizza to. And it was just a divey bar off North Avenue in Bucktown that had really great comics come through, especially on that show. And it was hosted by two super hilarious dudes, so I was thrilled to do it. And I think that put the idea in my mind because they asked me. I was already doing pizza at this point. They're like, "Hey, can you bring pizza to a show?" That put the idea in my mind of doing it for like a comic of notoriety,
Mhm.
right? And I believe at the time I was working at Dough Bros and working at the register, kind of just scrolling through my phone, during some off time, and I saw a ad for JB Smooth's stand up tour. And he was coming through Talia Hall and he was driving in this classic car with Larry David, just kind of going through his tour dates. And he had said something about going through Texas and how they better have the vegan barbecue ready for him. And obviously, Larry David guffaws at the idea of vegan barbecue. But it just stuck in my head because obviously, you're vegan barbecue all the time. It's the antithesis of what barbecue should be.
Mhm.
But I was like, look, I'm a fan. I didn't even fully know he did stand up like that. I just know him from the show. Let me buy a ticket and go. And leading up to it, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put this status on Facebook saying, um, hey, I'm not looking for a free ticket. I have a ticket to this show. I'm just looking to see if anybody has any connections at Talia Hall. And my buddy Tony Martin reached out to me. He's like, I used to work there. If you stand in line and hand the pizza off to security, when you get up to security, they'll get it into the green room for you. And so I did that, and JB Smoove did a meet and greet afterwards to everybody in the whole theater. And I stood in line and got a chance to meet him. And I was just like, hey, this might sound weird. There's a pizza in the green room for you. And he's like, oh, yeah, I saw that. I'm going to crush it as soon as I get off, this meet and greet. And I'm just thinking he's being an affable celebrity. That's what he was going to say to me. He's,
Right.
not going to crush me.
He's like, the pizza's already in the trash. No.
Totally. And I'm adult enough to think like that's like 95% what's going to happen.
Right.
And I'm driving home, and I had already sent him DMs, kind of like not warning him, but like being like, "Hey, I'd love to bring you pizza. I intend to bring you."
So you weren't like
pizza
a
if that's
psychopath,
cool."
like you're trying to like preemptive, like this random person brought me a
Yes.
pizza. Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah.
Otherwise, you look like a crazy person.
Yeah.
Totally, or just like it's like fan art. It's like not that it looked like JB, that'd be kind of sick, but at the time, I'm working at Dobros, so it's like a Dobros box. We're driving there. I already think that the opportunity's missed and it's not going to happen. My buddy tells me, and when we're already there and I'm already dressed, and I'm like calling up the pizzeria, being like, "Hey, open up this can of sauce," because they put parm in their sauce there, and I'm like, it's got to be this way. We don't have any vegan cheese, so I'm just like not putting cheese on the pizza and like loading it up with sauce and veggies. Um, And yeah, they start to make the pizza for me, and I finish it off and get it in a box and take a Sharpie from the register, start writing a note on the Dobro's box. This is from Professor Pizza.
Cross out the name.
Yeah, kinda. No, shout out to Dobro's. I appreciate you guys. But I see the show, I meet him, I'm on a high from it just being a fun night, and I look at my Instagram and he's DM'd me back and it's an empty pizza box. He's like, thank you, this was delicious. And long story short, he and I have become really good friends. I was with him like Friday night. He performed in Des Plaines at the Rivers Casino, and we hung out, brought him some pizzas. But I've been to his house and made pizza for parties of his, and they've just been like super, super supportive over the years. They've been to Old Town handful of times, my West Loop location, and always rooting for me. And it doesn't always work out that way, but like it was cool that like he was like the first celebrity I ever did it for, and then also just like the very best experience I've had doing it. Now I've had a lot of awesome experiences doing it. Like last night I was at the Chicago Theater making pizza for Adam Ray dressed up as Dr. Phil, and that was insane.
Yeah.
And Mark Norman's there, and Andrew Santino's there, and Jeremiah Watkins is there, and just like these powerhouse comedians, and they're all just backstage eating our pizza, and it's pretty fantastic. So it's cool how just like one thing leads to the other, and I guess that's how it happens. Is you don't start out like bringing pizzas to the United Center in the Chicago Theater. You start out bringing it to at North Bar, and then one of your comedy friends is opening up for somebody of notoriety, and then you get your foot in the door, and that's what it's been.
Have you ever?
And take care of the venues. Take care of the stage people.
True.
Take care of the people that are lowering your oven with a crane through a hole in the stage into the basement of the Chicago Theater. Make sure you're inviting them to your pizzeria and giving them your personal number, and hitting them up 5 minutes before you show up, as opposed to just expecting things in the moment.
Yeah. How many times have you?
That's how the city really works.
Or have you not ventured up onto the stage to do some comedy? Do you like?
Very few times.
Do you like doing it?
Yeah, I'm afraid, like most people are, to actually really, really get up there and do that. However, by nature being so adjacent to the Chicago scene, I've had the opportunity to like be on judging panels
Sure.
of shows and stuff like that, a variety of different ones. And when you're judging on a comedy show and they put a mic in your hand, there's a certain expectation to be at least make an attempt at humor, right? And so I've made mine and gotten some laughs here and there, and even that is like a taste of what it's really like to get up there and get some real laughs.
Yeah.
And it's intoxicating. I wish I could do it, but I'm one of those people that like has such reverence for it that I realize that there is really only one true path to getting good at it, and that is by doing it incessantly all the time.
Yeah.
In the same way that I have with pizza. And I barely have time for the things that I've got going on right now. So to add that seems unrealistic, but on the other hand, it seems like the reason why I'm keeping myself from doing it more. So I try and take whatever opportunity that is thrown at me, but I'm not actively out there seeking them either, and I wish I was.
And so I guess, how did you come up with the name Professor Pizza? Because so when I met you, you were already Professor Pizza.
Yeah.
And you have, and I don't, shtick is not the right word, but like you have a persona to you.
Yeah.
And so like if you ever come to Old Town on a Friday or Saturday, the person in the jumper suit walking around
suit. Come on.
It's a track suit.
I'm sorry.
What are you?
I'm
Bro,
sorry.
you spent
That
1 month in
sounded,
London. Chill. He was wearing a jumper.
You're in the track suit.
Like pregnancy wear or something, like a boo-boo.
You could probably pull off a moo-moo.
Guys are wearing moo-moos now on TikTok.
Are they really?
it's freeing on the
on the lower
balls, I
half.
guess, yeah.
So yeah, like you have kind of like a persona in your tracksuit.
Hold on, no, we can't.
Get on the
Wait,
male
hold
boo-boo
on.
TikTok. It's part of my algorithm now.
It's gonna
I
fuck up my
guess.
algorithm. I'll just show me
How did
later.
you get
dude.
up
I'm
on
not,
a Moo TikTok like that? You had to go searching for that. It doesn't just pop up.
No, I don't know. I mean, that's not even the weirdest like angle of my like algorithm.
No, I know what happened.
Like,
He's got a fucked up ass friend
That
that
probably-
sent him the video.
oh, for sure.
And
Oh,
then
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
then
it
the
starts
algorithm,
going.
yeah.
It's how my brothers ruined my algorithm.
yeah.
So how did because you're a very personal person in general, right? And I think
Appreciate
like
that.
I'm not. Like that's why I'm in the kitchen.
Mhm.
And
I
it's just I know my wheelhouse. Were you always like that? And I guess how did Professor Pizza come about? And like now you really kind of live into it in the sense of
Yeah.
like touching tables and like if anyone goes to the Old Town location,
Yeah.
it's like walking into like your like I have European parents and European family.
Uh-huh.
You walk into like that parlor that no one sat in, right? Like
Yeah.
growing up. And so like you walk into Old Town and that's it. That's the vibe I get and like very family. And then you're there like touching tables in your tracksuit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How
Give it
did-
the respect it deserves.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
right.
How did was that always like in your mind? Like that's the way I want to present myself as Professor Pizza.
Well, I think like the core of the mentality is like something that's kind of taboo these days to say you want for yourself and kind of like crass and looked down upon, which is like, I think I've always wanted to be famous on some level. And I've always
There's
wanted
nothing wrong with
it.
that. I think you need to have that dream and that aspiration. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it kind of just becomes a goal that you put a damper
Sure.
on yourself. You're never going to achieve.
I think there's a culture of like worshiping celebrities and
Sure.
like, you can go too far with it.
Sure.
And I think because people oftentimes do go too far with it, fame as a construct is looked down upon. But I think at its core, really what it is you're being known for something.
Right.
And I think, again, part of the reason it's being looked down on these days is that barometer for something is becoming lower and lower, right?
Mhm.
But I have always wanted to be famous for something that I was passionate about. Like, I was the kid who was like into hip hop and like, maybe not like rapping in public, but like being like, oh, that would be cool. So instead I DJ'd, and I would like do that at, not like anything cool, but like bar and bat mitzvahs and weddings and still stuff where you've got some level of attention on you. And at least it's not expected for a kid of that age to be like hauling around speakers and turntables and stuff.
How old
like
were
that.
you?
Like 12,
Yeah.
like not driving to the job.
Like, hey, Dad, I need you to.
Yeah.
My brothers did the same thing.
Yeah.
Pulling up in the minivan.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a white Dodge minivan,
And I think there's
you
like
know,
that somewhat, I don't know, European culture of like Sebastian Maniscalco has the joke, like, with him doing funerals as an altar boy, like, and his dad being like, "You getting paid for this?" Like,
dude. That
like-
that joke hit home.
right? So, always had like kind of like a paid hobby. Always been lugging around, if not like speakers, now ovens and flight cases. Like, I've got 2 ovens in my car right now. It's insane. But yeah, just like wanting to hustle towards like being known for something and wanting to put forth the extra work. It like sucks to like these ovens are really heavy, and it's messing up my back. But like I bring it to the gig because I know it's better.
Right.
I know it's like better, and I know you don't expect it, and I know
Right.
when you see it, it just like washes the whole experience and credential.
Right.
Like, oh, he set up a pizzeria
Right.
in
Yeah.
the corner of this like dance floor, or in the basement of the Chicago theater, or whatever the case may be. So like, yeah, I've always wanted to go the extra mile. I've always wanted to be perceived a certain way. I think like, rappers have a stage name, they have a look about themselves, whether it's the jewelry or maybe in some cases it is a tracksuit even or whatever. They have a look about themselves. Like, what Fat Joe's going to look like. 50 Cent's going to be in the flat brim. Like, you just know. And that Professor Pete's is going to be in a tracksuit. I'm going to have like the chain on. I'm going to lean into kind of the cartoon of it all, of being Italian American, but like make that cool because it's like I'm, I think like part of like the Professor Pizza thing is like coming into my own.
Mhm.
I was never the athletic kid. I was never the tall kid. I came from money, but like it was always like my parents' money and not my money. You
You got to
know?
haul around speakers.
Yeah. So like I wasn't just like thick with bitches growing up, so to speak.
Can we
So
get that on a T-shirt, please?
this is a chef podcast,
Yeah,
right?
it
No,
is.
it's you're fine. We swear all the time.
And not to say that I am now, but there is a power in just accepting, you're the Greek dude, I'm the Italian dude. Like, um, I don't think
You're just
yeah,
I'm
Portuguese.
just
yeah, I don't
You're
think
not
you're
Portuguese.
even
the
the dude. You're just
Portuguese dude, but I
Portuguese.
think you are the chef dude.
Yeah.
I think that
He's
is
just like the mean baker.
no, but like people know you're a chef,
Right, yeah.
right? Like
There's the persona that you give off.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But you dress like a chef.
Right.
You've got the tattoos, but like they're cool, they're interesting,
Right. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you know. And we have all collectively decided to lean into who and what we are.
For sure.
And I think it's empowering in doing that as opposed to being like, oh no, there's more to me than just like the angsty chef guy or the Greek guy
Right.
or the Italian guy with the mustache. Like, but it's like, yeah, there is more to me, and you will learn that in time. But like, there's nothing wrong with celebrating the fact that I am this.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and if you're gonna get pizza, probably get it from the guy that looks like me. Like so.
That's a fair. That's a fair.
Yeah, that is a very fair statement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're heading out of town soon.
Yeah.
You're going to the World Pizza Expo in Vegas. San Francisco, Vegas.
No,
Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah, my studied in San Francisco. But
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing there.
Yeah, so it came about through my relationship with Tony Geminiani. I'd go out there and help him with his demos, and still do when I have time. But like, luckily it's gotten to a point where like I am busy enough with my own stuff
Mhm,
now to
mhm.
where it's like I'll show up if I have time, if I
Right.
have a window. But it is a collection of all things pizza in our industry from a very global perspective,
Mhm.
meaning the ingredient producers, the oven producers, the equipment producers, the competitors are coming from every corner of the globe. The competition scene is alive and well and split into two main overarching categories. One being acrobatics, which is spinning the dough and manipulating it in the air to different routines and music. It's something that like I can only do on a very very basic and practical level in terms of like practical in terms of opening the dough to make the pizza. Like I can
Mhm.
spin the dough in the air, but these guys and girls are incredible at doing this, and that's a category all into its own. And then there's the cooking division, which is broken up into subdivisions of traditional, non-traditional, best cheese slice, which I'm doing for the first time this year. It's only the second year they've ever had it. Um, Neapolitan, might be a couple more that aren't coming to mind right
Mhm,
now,
mhm.
but blind judging, everything's taken super seriously, and we attempt to make it as fair as possible. You fill out a note card with your ingredients on it, but no brands, no identifying factors, no name on there, only your competitor number, uh, all with an attempt to make this as fair and unbiased as possible, and determine who's responsible for making some of the best pizza in the world at any
Mhm.
given point in a competitive setting, right?
Sure.
Because I'm sure you've done some baking
Mhm.
competitions over the years, and you know that like it's a fun thing and it makes sense within the confines of our industry, and all the better if we win and it can serve to further promote our businesses.
Mhm.
But we know that it's just that it lives within this world, and it's not necessarily an indicator of like who's making great pizza,
Right. Right.
or who's a great baker outside of the confines of these scenarios.
Mhm.
With that said, I have a lot of fun with it. It's a great community. It's a very supportive community, and it's something I look forward to every year. As people who work in this industry, you know how busy we can be and how infrequently we get a chance to hang out with our peers. and our friends within the industry or our friends outside of the industry. So this is our opportunity to hang out with our friends within the industry and just catch up and talk shop and not talk shop.
Nice.
Well,
we like to, as we're coming to the end, we like to do this little segment called 86 list, which
Sure.
what 86 is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be pizza related, doesn't have to be industry related, it could be anything.
Yeah.
What would you want at 86? Something coming to mind. It doesn't need to be PG.
I would
Don't make
say-
it like X-rated
No,
either.
no, I got a good one. I think you guys would all agree with it. And, this is a blessing and a curse at Professor Pizza Old Town is by nature of becoming like a neighborhood pizzeria, which is like a badge we wear proudly. We get a lot of kids in our pizzeria. And when you have a poorly behaved child in a restaurant setting, you're never upset with the child, right? You're upset with the parents. And as somebody who's not just a restaurant owner, but a parent of 2 children, one of which is 6 years old, so it's still young, right? I don't think there's any excuse for it. I think like if you really have a scenario with your child where they're not restaurant ready, it's fine. Then you got to succumb to that reality, whether that means either, unfortunately, you don't go out, or maybe you can afford a babysitter, or maybe you can lean on a friend or a family member. It is what it is. That's your reality. And sometimes I've found myself in that reality, right? Okay, you're going to bring your kid to the restaurant. They have to not be running all over our booths. They have to not be playing in areas that are highly trafficked. They have to not be playing in areas that are set up tables that are ready for incoming groups. They have to not be, making spills all over the dining room. If they then throw up on themselves, you have to not then parade them through our dining room without any pants or underwear on.
I didn't read this in the end of night
I
notes, so
didn't
this
either.
must have happened.
Like-
This must have happened somewhere.
Yeah, like pretty recently, like she's got like a Simba grip on her child, and like the kid's like just fully to the wind, no underwear, no nothing on, and it's like granted, like it's not the level of jarring it would be if it was an adult or
That's
somebody
jail time.
that's like
That's
That's
jail
fake.
time,
That's
Tony.
Vegas right there.
but it's like come on, like
Yeah.
have some respect for like this is everybody's time out
Right.
now, and like it's not even about the kid. She's doing that whole move where like, and now I'm just talking about the parent where her chair is in front of the table. She is behind her chair, leaning over her chair with her ass like fully out, like into like, in a restaurant setting, even in Chicago, relative to like maybe in New York, where you really have to be conscientious of real estate, we're still trying to pack in
Mhm.
as many chairs and as many tables as we can pack in so we can actually make this whole thing work. And when you're not sitting in your chair, you're taking up space. And it's one thing if you're walking to the bathroom, it's another thing if you're just like using it as your creative space to move around in. And it's like go home for that. We offer carry out and deliver. But this is dining. And dining comes with a certain level of expectations that are like, that we're a casual pizzeria. I'm not talking about dress code.
Right.
I'm not talking about like even like volume. Like have a good time.
Right.
Laugh really loud. Have a good
Just
time.
don't be naked.
Yeah, just don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
Don't
mean,
be a jerk.
I'm with you.
I agree. I think that there is a level of like I remember growing up, like my parents are very European, and so they would just have to give me a side eye look, and I knew that I
Yeah.
was like, I can't.
Or flick the back of your earlobe
Yeah.
really hard.
Like I knew if I got that look, and if I got
That
that
one.
look, I was
Or
afraid to go in the
squeeze
car.
your-
Then you were like, I
Right.
can't leave this
Yeah,
restaurant.
I was like, there are witnesses that I'm around. If I get into the car, there are no witnesses.
Yeah.
My wife used to work at a place that was very family friendly,
Yeah.
and kids would just run into the kitchen, just
Yeah.
like run in and just like, hey, cool.
I
There's
mean,
400 people in
I
this
wonder
restaurant.
if our kitchen was on the same floor.
It would definitely probably
if it
happen.
would be a thing,
Yeah.
Stairs are a deterrent to most.
True.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the new place opening up?
Yeah, so I'm always talking about Old Town. I'm so proud of what we're doing in Old Town, but believe it or not, it was not my original goal to open up a 130 seat restaurant. Um, I have one in 11 months in. We're like kind of crushing it right now. It's starting to see some good weather, and I'm very happy about it. But what I've always wanted is a humble little slice joint. I think there's absolutely a dearth of them in the city of Chicago right now, and I'd like to be responsible for more of them being around. Um, and this is what we're going to be doing there. We're going to have your classic New York style slice case, where we're going to be promoting different pizzas throughout the day, throughout the week. Small dining room of maybe 40 seats, so not like tiny, but way more manageable relative to what we're doing now. At least at first, not necessarily a front of house staff in the traditional sense. You'll have somebody behind the uh, pizza counter slash, or the slice case slash bar, helping you from a front of house standpoint in that respect. But otherwise, it's like when your slice is ready, your name will get called out or whatever system we arrive upon, and it'll be pretty casual in that sense. The bar will be very limited and something that we probably don't open with right away, again, because of permitting. But
Thanks, Chicago.
Classic.
yeah,
And where is it located? Or is it going to be
Uh,
located?
1374 West Grand Avenue, which is Grand and Noble in Westtown. For those that know, it's the old Bellinote building, and yeah, I'm super excited. Like I said, it's something that will probably be in full force within the next couple months, but
Yeah.
it would only jinx it to put a date on it
Yeah,
right now.
it's true. Coming soon.
Coming soon.
All right. Well, we want to thank Tony for coming in today. Go
Yeah,
follow
thanks for
him.
having me.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
follow him at Professor Pizza.
Where
That's
can they
right.
follow you, Tony?
Yeah, where can they follow you?
Yep.
You do. You better. You know your
Professor-
handles better than I do.
Professor Pizza on Instagram. That's where we're most active. I believe it's Professor Pizza Official on TikTok. We're trying to grow that. We're pretty non-existent on X, and I think we'll stay that way.
All right.
That's fair.
And if you're in Old Town or soon to be Grand, stop in. Just don't be naked.
Yeah,
Be
exactly.
naked.
Get a
Exactly.
babysitter.
Yeah,
Right.
get a babysitter or be tame.
Right.
I think that's it for us this week.
That's it, guys. Thank you very much. You guys can
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
follow us on Chef Matt Call Podcast on all social platforms or email us at chefmattcallpodcast@gmail.com. And that's been another one. Thanks again, Tony.
Killer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.